Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a series we haven't touched in quite a while called Over a Beer. In this series, we like to do a little podcast type thing, talk about different topics that come up that we like to discuss. Today, we want to discuss a little bit about Overwatch League, and yes, I know we do a lot of Overwatch League content, but we're getting close to the end of that. And more specifically on the Overwatch League, I want to discuss with Kynkie here kind of how they could improve the Overwatch League experience, as Kynkie and I are both pretty avid NFL fans. I'm a little bit into MLB, but not very large. I'm more of a NFL guy. And a couple other things I want to note before we get started, guys, is we will start getting into our regular video rotation that we're doing pre-Overwatch League here in about a week, maybe a week and a half. We're also looking to start doing some streaming for you, so keep an eye out for that, and we will drop more information as we have it available. Alright, Kynkie, so I just wanted to get started. The first topic I had here was scheduling, and I feel like they could do a little bit better in that regard. You want to kick us off?
Oh man, so the scheduling is, I think, a huge reason why. I still watch the games, but I think the scheduling is a huge reason why I've stopped caring as much about the games. Like, I'll still go on and I still watch them, obviously, but like I don't watch them nearly as in-depth as I used to. And like when you see Florida taking on New York, I immediately tune it out and I just go to playing whatever game I was doing or working on whatever, playing Magic or whatever the hell I was doing. I just go straight to that because it's one game at a time, 4 nights a week, and this time slot is 2 to 2.5 hours depending if there's an overtime match. So it's a huge amount of time during the week. And I mean, it's, for me, one of the reasons why I was able to get into the NFL and follow it heavily. I know that they're getting farther away from their strict schedule, but having a concise schedule, all but 2 games were Sunday during the day. Then you had your Sunday night game and your Monday night game, and that was it. They need to have matches played at the same time, especially when it's teams that you know it's going to be a blowout. If we were to put this in an NFL terms of scheduling, and we said, okay, what's going to be the Sunday night game and what's going to be the Monday night game? For last week, it would have been both Valiant games, because both of Valiant's games, they were going up against the other 2 undefeated teams from this stage. But you have to wait for that game. You probably won't even remember about it because you're so like, oh, I don't want to watch this game. And then you go off and do something else, and then you come back to it and it's just, oh crap, that game's already over. Oh well. It's too long. That's what I'm saying.
I definitely agree. I have actually, this last stage, and yeah, Boston's been sucking, so that doesn't help, but even the stage before, I was only really watching the Boston games and tuning everything else out. It's just, 4 days a week, and you're talking like what, 2, 4, 6, 7, maybe 8 hours even of games every day. It's just ridiculous.
It's a lot. It's way too much. Like, way too much.
They're basically oversaturating the market, which is the same exact issue the NFL has right now. And they're not even the NFL's not oversaturating that much.
Yeah, no, I mean, the NFL is getting worse with their Thursday night, and then they're doing all their, going overseas stuff, but it's not nearly as bad as Overwatch.
So we don't want to beat that too much. The next thing I'm thinking about here is competition, and I'll get that started a little bit for you so you can feel where I'm coming from. I just feel like we have Florida and Shanghai, and they're like the premier examples, of course, of these really bad teams that can't get anything together. And I feel like in other pro sports leagues anyway, that they tried to fight this. This was a thing in the past, of course, when teams could just hold on to their superstars. I'm wondering if we need more free agency and trading and things like that in the Overwatch League. I know we've seen some trades happen, but it doesn't seem quite the same. And the other thing is they didn't draft anybody. It was just kind of like, hey, we'll take this team that's already pre-built and make it an Overwatch League team. I don't know. I just feel like to some extent the competition isn't quite great. It's like you said, there's a lot of matches that are just like, not really exciting.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I I will argue for them between right now. I'm looking at the standings right now, and in case anybody's watching this after this next week or anything, we are on the Tuesday before week 4, stage 4. So right now I'm looking at, and there's only 4 games separating the number 2 ranked team in the league in terms of win and losses and the number 8 ranked team out of 36 games. To me, that's not too bad. But I mean, then you, like you said, you have the Shanghai Dragons who are 0-36 right now, and the Florida Mayhem who are 6-36. Dallas isn't much better with only 10 wins, and then San Francisco is up another 6 wins at 16. And if you look at that, only 4 teams have losing records. That's pretty crazy.
That's not as bad as I feel, I guess, but
yeah, I mean, it definitely feels worse.
that's a quarter of the league that is out of the picture, basically, right?
Yeah, it definitely is. But I mean, you kind of get that with every season, with every professional sport. My concern is how long is that going to persist? Because, like you said, there is no draft. Is there some sort of salary cap for these teams? I don't know about that. I would assume there's not, because London came into the league with like 12 players.
Yeah, they have up to 12 spots, but I don't think there's a salary cap. Just a spot cap.
Yeah. So I feel like they should try and force the teams to fill out to that 12 players more. But my concern is, I don't know how they would say, all right, this is how we're going to do a draft. Like, how do they determine how they do a draft? Do they say, because I mean, these are all people that got good online or got good at another game and became well known and then moved over to Overwatch League. So like, how do you determine how you're going to draft kids to play Overwatch League?
Well, they have the contenders right now, which is like the minor leagues, right?
Yeah, I mean, they do have that, but my concern, like, are you going to put an age restriction on it and kind of stuff?
Well, I'm not saying the draft is a perfect example either. I was just throwing it out there as things other sports have done.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Maybe what they do, I mean, I don't know how enrooted all these kids are to the places that they're living at, and if every season is just going to be out of one hub, and all the, like, what was it, next season is they're trying to go to New England or Chicago or something. I don't know where they're supposed to go next, but like, if they're going to have all 4 stages in that area next year, why not take all the people that are actually in the Overwatch League and just do a fantasy draft in Madden, where everybody loses all their teams and then you draft everybody. I mean, I can't see of a way that you could balance out the teams more than that right now.
Yeah, I don't think that would go over well.
I don't think it would either.
But like you said, it's actually not that unbalanced currently, I guess. It just feels that way sometimes. I'm also like toying with this idea a little bit. We'll just wrap this up real quick, but what if they had a limit of like 8 players? Because they need 6 starters, obviously, but when you set it to 8 players and they have to fill all 8 slots, and allow them to maybe pull up from the contenders league if they need extra players, like injuries and stuff. They can put somebody on injured and pull up another player.
I really wish that they had said, okay, obviously they have to have a minimum of 6 because that's what you need to play the game, but I really wish they had said, okay, you have to have a minimum of 9 players, because it wasn't until Florida got their extra players that they started to actually look better. I mean, they still aren't obviously they're 6-30, so they're not the best team in the league, but they're still doing a lot better than they were doing.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll move on to the next point, and before I jump into mine, did you have any specific points that you think could improve the Overwatch League that we haven't talked about yet?
That we haven't talked about yet. No. My biggest concern is the scheduling. It really is. Like, the scheduling is going to kill this straight up. That's going to kill it. And I understand they only have one venue for playing games right now, but I mean, that's on Blizzard. They need to figure that out. Yeah,
they can definitely add a venue and add another Twitch stream or whatever. So the last point I'm going to touch on is the amount of teams. What do you feel about the amount of teams currently? Because there's rumor out there that they're going to add some more teams.
Oh, I thought it was already confirmed that they were adding at least 2 more teams.
It could be confirmed. I saw some stuff. I didn't really read into it too deep. Part of the oversaturation problem. I'm starting to fade out on this Overwatch League thing.
Yeah. I see, I was just doing a quick Google, and it looks like they're trying to add 6 teams for Season 2.
I'm a fan of adding teams, and I think that would be great. It'll add some more competition, hopefully, some more players, skilled players getting in the league, make teams, want to try to trade for different players and things like that. However, they definitely need to fix the scheduling issue if they still want to play one game at a time every time. Because add 6 more teams, and now we're like 4 games a day, and it's just 10 to 12 hours a day of Overwatch League. No one's watching that.
The scheduling is a big issue, but yeah, if they do that, that's going to be crazy. I can't imagine that Blizzard's going to sit back and say, oh, well, we'll add 6 teams and then we'll just, we'll put 2 games on every day of the week. Like, nobody's going to watch that if they do that. Like, how many people will tune in every week to watch, I don't know, The Walking Dead back when it was still super popular? I know some people still really like it, but like when The Walking Dead was in its prime, if you liked that show, it didn't matter if you liked it a little bit or you liked it a lot. You sat down and you watched it week in and week out, like Game of Thrones. If a new episode of Game of Thrones came on 4 days in a row, every week for 4 weeks, then took a week off, and then did it again for 4 weeks. So in the span of 20 weeks, you're getting the 16 episodes. Is it 16? Yeah, 16 episodes. I mean, I'm sure everybody would be happy, but
I would not watch any of it and then binge watch after.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I don't know if that was necessarily a good analogy, but I mean, that's what it feels like. There's just way too much.
I think that was a great analogy, and I think that kind of brings up the worst point of Overwatch League is the scheduling, and that's what they need to focus on. And I hope they really do if they want to have a successful professional league.
Something else, though, that I don't know how to fix this without making people go ape shit, but something else that I wish that they would change a little bit is, and I know this is part of the game, the meta game, but the way I want it to be more consistent. When you're watching football, or you're watching hockey, or you're watching any other professional sport, really, team-based professional sport, a team is only as good as their weakest link. And I know that people are going to say, well, with NFL, you have your quarterbacks and you have your point guards in basketball and all that kind of stuff. Like, LeBron James makes the Cavs. Yeah, okay, I get it. But if one person goes down on those teams, it's not like the team completely goes 360 and goes in the opposite direction. And it's not like in the middle of the season they're going to change the rules. And that's kind of like what they're doing with changing the meta in the middle of the season. I like the fact that teams out of nowhere will become competitive, like we've seen Shock do these past 2 stages. They've gone from nobody cares about them and they're kind of just winning a couple of games here and there to, wow, they're actually doing pretty well now. Same, and look at Dallas now. They went from a 1-9 stage to now they're like, what, 4-2 this stage, something like that. That's great, but I don't like the fact that it happened because of a meta change or because one person left. Like, look what happened with Boston. Their coach left, and then they went from 10-0, and they're still looking for their first win of the stage.
Yeah, I think Boston's problem is also the meta change, but I'm honestly torn because I think, yes, I hate the meta change because it screws, like Boston was going on a big roll, but on the other hand, it makes it more competitive as a whole because obviously we have more close teams now. Like, if we would have been rolling with the same meta, we probably would have half the league down at the bottom, not even competing, and the other half up top.
Right, but if the meta, okay, so the meta changed, and now all of a sudden, 2 of the hottest teams aren't even going to make the playoffs because they're really good at this meta, but they've sucked throughout the rest of the season so they're not going to make the playoffs. Like Dallas isn't making the playoffs, San Francisco isn't making the playoffs, and they're right now they're two really good teams.
And worse than that, the great teams that have played great throughout are going to make the playoffs. Like Boston is probably going to make the playoffs. Maybe not, but they probably will. And they're going to suck because they can't play in the current meta.
Exactly. Dude, you have New York is the only team that has been strong in every stage. The Valiant are the next closest thing because they were kind of like in the mid to upper tier stage 1 and stage 2, and then stages 3 and 4 they've been phenomenal. London has been crap since the start of stage 2. They lost like 4 games in the first 2 stages, and then stage 3 and 4 so far I think they're like they're hovering around a 500 game average.
I think the biggest point here is Seoul.
Yeah, Seoul too. Seoul was doing amazing, and then all of a sudden it's like a light switch went off and now they're down in the dumps.
Yeah, stage 2 and 3 they couldn't do shit.
Yeah, look at Houston. Houston was on fire the first 1.5 stages, and now all of a sudden, who's Houston? Who's Jake? Junkrat? No, we don't need Junkrat.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of bullshit. And I guess the only way to fix that is shorter seasons, right?
Well, either you make it shorter seasons or you make it to where when you start the season, that's what the hero abilities are. It doesn't matter how bullshit they are. It doesn't matter how good one team is at it and how bad another team is at it. You keep it the same until the season is over, and then you change it for the next season. This stage stuff, I mean, yes, I understand that they have their little prize pools at the end of each stage, but for a team like London that's probably going to lose in the first round of the playoffs, who won the first stage, they won stage 1. There's no reason why if the meta had stayed the same that they could have become the champions of the first season. New York is more, I don't think anybody's going to be shocked if I say I think New York's going to take it all the way. I think Valiant are the only team that stand a chance. It's really between the Valiant and Excelsior, and it's not fun. Before, it was, you had Excel, you had London, you had Dynasty, you had Houston, you had Philly kind of up there. I mean, that's a lot more teams that were up there, but when you swap it so drastically, so quickly, it takes time for these guys to develop their team flow with new heroes, and it's just, you can see that some have a lot more practice with each other and know each other a lot better than other teams do.
Yeah, and some of it comes down to coaching, and I get that, all that shit, but to your point, they could actually, say this season, this is the meta. They have time during the off season to prep for that, pick up players, look for players that fit that meta, build a team for that meta, go into that season, play the season, try to, if you need to, make adjustments mid-season, but at least you know what you're working towards and what you're trying to do for that meta for that whole season.
Exactly. Like, they had Moira come onto the scene middle of the season. They had Brigitte, who was a huge game changer, come on in the middle of the scene. They had Blizzard World come on in the middle of the scene. Like, how they didn't even know who Moira was. They didn't even know who Brigitte was. They didn't even know Blizzard World was a thing. Like, how is that fair to Houston? How's that fair to London and Boston and Seoul? It's just not.
I guess it's fair if they spend a whole bunch of time in the off hours playing the live servers. However, I feel like the maps aren't as big of a deal. Yes, that's kind of a big change also because the teams kind of build around maps sometimes, but I would be okay with introducing maps mid-stage, but like in between stages, but the big hero change, like the Brigitte change, is just insane. The Moira change wasn't quite as bad because she wasn't quite as broken, but Brigitte just completely fucked the entire game.
Yeah, she really did. She turned the game on its head, and Blizzard was fine with saying, oh, this hero completely changed everything about the game. Let's put it into Overwatch League and see what these teams can do with it.
Yeah, well, we're about 20 minutes in, so we'll stop this harassment for a while. Thanks for watching, everybody. We are starting to move into our post-Overwatch League schedule, which might include more of these OABs. They'll definitely include more videos on other games such as World of Warcraft, Overwatch, PUBG, and who knows what else. And we're definitely looking to do some more streaming for you guys. So keep an eye on this Less Than Epic YouTube channel. We are definitely moving forward here.
Peace, guys.
Hey there, this is novapunk X. If for some reason you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button, as it really helps the channel. We put out multiple new videos each and every week for your viewing pleasure. Also, feel free to throw some comments below and let us know how we did. Thanks for watching, and get good, scrubs.